Hi, I'm Owen from Rask Australia. Thanks for tuning in to the Rask Network. Before we get into today's show, there are a few things we have to go over. Firstly, what you're about to hear and see is limited to general information only. It's not personal financial advice like you get from a financial planner. Also, it's important to remember that past performance is not indicative of future performance. That means that anything that's happened in the past, or we say today, is not necessarily going to reflect what happens in the future. Lastly, please consider that any of the guests or myself are featuring on this program may have a financial interest in some of the products or shares mentioned. That's enough from me. I hope you enjoyed today's program.
Kate Campbell, welcome back to Money and Chill.
It's good to be back, and we've got Monique here today as well.
Hello.
Monique, podcast producer / manager / basically does everything.
All the
How you going?
I'm great. I don't usually sit on this side of the table, so I feel weird.
Yeah, normally you're in the middle.
Yeah. Now I can see both of you.
Yeah, because normally your head's bobbling back and
Yeah.
forth. Like, yeah. Kate's got a very calm left to right movement. Anyway, welcome to Money and Chill. This is once a month we get Monique behind the mic as opposed to on the other side of the camera. And we just talk about a bit more relaxed style, money-saving hacks, what you've been telling us, and also hearing from you. So if there's things we do on social media or whatever, we call that out in these sessions. A bit more laid back, quite, just chill.
What the Rask team's up to and some of our favourite books and podcasts at the moment.
Mm-hmm. So we've all been pretty busy behind the scenes. But there was something that you did. You experimented, Kate. I think this was on Spotify, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, Spotify has added some new podcast features for creators. So you can ask a question or put a poll at the end of a podcast. So when people listen to a podcast episode, there's now the opportunity for them to share their biggest takeaway from the episode with us. And then we can hit publish on some of the responses as well. And we can do some polls for episodes. So I did a couple. And one of them was relating to our 10 ways to beat inflation episode. And that was, how are you feeling about your finances right now? Because I thought people would have thoughts.
18%, small sample size, but 18% said I'm struggling. 18% said I'm getting by. It was about 18%. But confident and pretty average. Is pretty average good? Like in terms of the language, like if someone asked me, how you going? I say pretty average. That's normally pretty bad.
I don't know. I feel like it was just the fine. Fine.
Yeah, fine is also kind of not a great word too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
There's there was this study done for investors, and it showed like adjectives or phrases like this, and it got like 1,000 people to respond to 1,000 investors to respond to a survey. And when there was certain language used, the difference in like sentiment amongst what people thought of those words was like marked. It was very different.
It didn't give me the opportunity to write a definition of what I meant by pretty average.
So I would say the skew's positive though overall, all of these results. Yeah, it's pretty cool. That's great because it's pretty tough times. There's a lot of people out there that are feeling it, but this is pretty cool. Yeah,
and I also tried a poll on the money personality episode I did with Evan Lucas, and we talked about the 5 different types of money personalities, which were the saver, spender, debtor, investor, and ignorer. And I mean, it kind of makes sense given our audience, but the 2 biggest choices in that poll were the investor and the saver.
What are you guys?
Probably more of a saver.
Yeah,
I'm a spender investor.
Yeah.
Spend half, invest half.
Yeah, I'd say that's true. I'm probably a spender and investor. I don't really save a lot of money in cash. You know, I got enough, but don't save a lot in cash. Interesting with the Spotify stuff is that it's less than 20% of our audience actually listen via Spotify, which for a lot of other podcasts is oftentimes it's the other way around. It's more Spotify than Apple, but for us, it's just the complete opposite, which I find is quite unique.
Yeah, well, I like listening to my podcast on Spotify because I can listen to them all in the same place as my music and everything.
Yeah.
And you can put things in queues. So when you go for a long run, you can queue up music, a podcast, 5 songs, another podcast, and you don't have to touch your phone the whole time. It's great.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a bit of a niche use case, but...
No, I agree. I do the same thing.
Yeah.
Spotify, yeah.
When you're crocheting.
Use Spotify?
Yeah, all the way Spotify.
Because when you send the weekly song, because we send each other
that's on YouTube, because then I want you to see the vision with the song, because if you haven't heard the song before, it just makes a difference. So when I show something someone, it's probably on YouTube.
So inside baseball here, we send each other a song each week, and then we have to rate the song of the other person. It gets pretty savage, not going to lie. The feedback to this.
Sometimes I abstain from rating.
Yeah,
because
you definitely have taken that
Yeah.
stance a few times. But Kate and Monique, they're good choice of music overall. And it's actually interesting because we can see with Spotify, they give us more analytics than Apple too. The community loves a bit of Drake, Ed Sheeran, was it Taylor Swift?
Taylor Swift, I think The Weeknd came up.
The Weeknd, yeah. But those have featured in our internal sharing of songs as well. There was something that we brought up a little while ago when we talked about travel, and I think it was me that was a little bit forgetful in that session. Jeff and Nicole sent in some feedback, some answers, not so much questions, answers to our questions, Kate.
Yeah, it was the episode we did on travel and money. I think that was, we each prepared a trip outline.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Something like that. And one of the apps Owen mentioned, Jeff pointed out, was called All Trails, to search for trails.
Yes, it was.
If
And
you
the
just wanna
maps.me.
Yeah, and
That's one I've still got on my
maps.me,
phone.
where you can pre-download maps of countries and save, so you can use it even in places where you don't have internet.
Yeah, so you could. So, for example, I used maps.me when I was in Vietnam and in Japan, because then you didn't have to have, if you weren't in Wi-Fi or whatever, if you didn't have a SIM as well,
Yeah.
you could just have all the maps on your phone. It's really,
That's
really
pretty
good.
handy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Nicole also called out Rome to Rio, which is a really great way to
I've
find
used that before.
the best
That's
way
really
to find yourself from one location to the other. Should you get a bus, a train, a
Yeah.
boat to...
It shows you all the different modes of
Tuk-tuk.
transport. It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff said he used maps.me to get to the peak of Mount Triglav in Slovenia. There you go.
Nice.
Use it anywhere you want to go. So thank you for correcting us on that, Jeff and Nicole. That is, I would say that's a strong recommendation from me for the maps.me thing. Rome to Rio, I've known heaps of people that have used that, All Trails as well. I think Strava now allows you to do something similar. They updated their maps not too long ago. But there was a little segment that I wanted to sneak in here, ladies, which was buy, hold, sell.
Yes.
And for those who haven't been in the finance industry, we are taking a laugh at the others in our industry, where a lot of the times you have, like, on in the big financial newspapers or on the videos you see, it's buy, hold, sell, and then there'll be like a stock. They'll ask an expert, they'll be like, buy, hold, sell, Telstra. And then the person says, like, sell or buy or whatever. And at the end of the day, you can go back 3 or 4 years and you can see how much, like, it's just nonsense. And if you act on that kind of information, it's really, like, even if they get it right for whatever circumstance yours is, sooner or later, you're going to be like, well, do I sell this now or do I go back and what do I do?
That's the thing, they often put on the spot as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They don't know which company is going to be thrown at them, and how are they supposed to have a good analysis of a particular company just without any information in front of them?
Well, I used to do this too. I used to go on I won't name names, but I used to go on the telly, like, for a very long segment for 60 minutes, and I used to get 10 companies that I'd never heard of, and I had to research them. They'd send them to me the afternoon or the evening before. And I'd be like, how am I meant to add any value to anyone's life by, like, taking these 10 stocks and being like, buy, hold, sell? So I've just been being hold the whole time. Anyway, so I thought maybe we could do a bit of a different take on buy, hold, sell, just to introduce people to the concept. So streaming services, we've got Disney, Netflix, and Binge. Right, so Netflix would have, like, Stranger Things. Disney would have, like, everything that you know from Marvel and whatever. And Binge would have Dave, if you're into Little Dicky, or like, I think the Game of Thrones is on.
Yeah. Binge is the same as Foxtel, isn't it?
Yeah, it's KO and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, okay. So you have to, I think the rules, we modified the rules.
Yes.
So you have to buy one, you have to sell one, you have to hold one. So why don't we start off with, I have to think about this. Someone else go first, maybe Monique. Let's start off with...
To clarify, we're not buying the company itself. We're just making the choice between which our favourite streaming services are.
Yeah, okay. So, Monique, let's start with Binge overall. Buy, hold, sell.
Probably hold. Yeah. There's
Oh.
only, like, one thing that I watch on there.
Okay. Kate?
I think I'd sell Binge because you can't download and watch offline, and that just annoys me.
I would also sell Binge. I do like some of the content on there. However, it always breaks. It's always like midstream. It's like error, network error. I'm like, surely someone's figured this out by now. Anyway, maybe it's my internet, but I would sell that too. So we got to hold, was it?
Yep.
Sell. Okay. Let's go to I think we know what Kate's answer is going to be this one. Kate, let's start with you then. Disney.
Well, I'm not actually subscribed to Disney at the moment.
What?
Oh, scandalous. I haven't been watching much TV recently.
Yeah.
I've been watching some stuff on SBS actually.
SBS.
SBS.
Is that free?
Yes, there's some ads.
Money
though.
saving tip right there.
SBS has some good stuff. But I would probably hold Disney since I don't have it right now and I couldn't tell you what the latest shows are. But Marvel movies, always good for the back catalogue.
I would go buy on Disney. Disney's my buy.
Yeah,
Because
right.
it's got movies, it's got streaming, and I'm also digging The Mandalorian. Like,
Yeah,
this
fair
is the
enough.
way, honestly. It is now known that I like Mandalorian. You guys know it so much. But what would you do, Monique?
Sell it. I
Sell?
don't watch anything on Disney. I still have it. I'll watch New Girl every once in a while.
New Girl, okay.
Which you can probably watch on other platforms given how old
Exactly,
that
yeah.
show
I think
is.
it's on a few things. It might even be on like ABC iView or something. I think it was on there at one
Yeah,
stage.
right.
But
What
yeah.
about for the Kardashians? I know you were a fan.
Kardashians aren't in season at the moment. Actually, the special just popped up. So maybe I will get Disney.
Oh my
Maybe
gosh.
it's a buy.
Okay, we've swung her, so it's a buy. That would mean that Netflix is last. And for me, that's a hold. Got Netflix, solid. Not always the best for some things, but I think the catalogue's pretty good. There's always something to watch.
Yeah, it's a buy for me.
Yeah,
Buy.
same. Buy.
So you guys spend the most amount of time, would it be fair to say, on Netflix?
Yeah.
At the moment, yeah. I just discovered Magic for Humans the other day. It was a good show.
Magic for Humans.
It's very random.
Wait, is that the English one?
I don't know. This guy just goes around and doing magic tricks, doesn't explain them, suddenly
Oh, no,
cuts
that's
to
not
the
what I'm
next
thinking
trick.
of
my
at
God.
all.
He does them in laundromats. He went to a tiny house building construction site, did some tricks, does them in front of bakeries.
That's
It's
great.
very random, but it's a good show.
All right, so what's it called? Magic for what?
Magic for Humans.
Okay, there is another show out, and someone will be able to correct me yet again, where it's got the guy who was in, I can't remember the name of it, the OA.
Oh yeah, I loved that show.
The blonde guy from that. He's in England, and he happens to go to this place where he goes in the back door trying to get a dog that stole something from him, and he
Oh, is that
discovers
the-
this magical place.
Is that the portable door?
Yeah, something like that.
Isn't that on Stan?
Is that on Stan?
I think it's on Stan.
Stan. Well, Stan's an outlier. There we go. So maybe Stan's like a speculative buy off to the side here. Lots of Aussie content too, which is great. Okay, so we've also, other than just having a bit of fun, we also want to bring some folks some money news, some savings hacks, things like this. Monique, you are our go-to for this.
Because I want you
yeah.
to talk about your olive making
This is
process.
hilarious.
So you make you make olive oil?
No, I've just started to make brine olives.
Yeah, tell me.
So my nature strip trees are olive trees. So I'm going to grab a handful, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, is there?
What else are you gonna do with it?
Well,
Some
they-
kid will take
they're
them
all
off and throw them.
they're all just on the floor every year. I see them on the floor, so I'm I'm gonna grab some and experiment, and then maybe I'll be a olive brine maker person.
Yes.
So that's what I'm doing at the moment. Currently in the salt stage. So what you have to do is for a week, you have to change the water in them every
So wait,
day.
so just to confirm, because I do have an olive tree at
Yes,
home, so
oh my
I'm trying to
God.
think about this. So you put the olives in water?
Water, yeah, for I did it for a week. There's a bajillion different recipes of how to do it. So this is how I did it. So for a week, you change the water every day. And then after that, you get some salt and then add that to a batch of water. And then you leave that for a month or two. And then you just taste in between. And then they're ready according to your taste. So I don't know. It's just a fun little experiment that doesn't really cost much. I bought rock salt and that's about it.
Do you have to smush them?
Oh, you have to slice them, not slice them. What's the
We're
word?
not making tapenade here, Owen. We're making marinated olives. You know when you go to supermarket and buy marinated olives
Right, okay.
that you can just
I was thinking
eat.
of the oil.
Like if you're
No,
in a
not the
bar.
oil. I'm making the actual olives so you can eat the olives because you can't just pick it and eat it off the tree.
Do you have to wait till they're ripe? Do you have to go the dark colour or green?
I don't know. So I picked both green and black ones, and we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Olive oil is quite expensive, so homemade olive oil.
I think
or
olive oil
olives.
might require some more
Or
equipment.
olives.
Olive oil. I'm not sure how
Or
to
just
do that.
olives, even olives from the deli.
Well, if
quite expensive.
anyone's
Yeah.
made their own olive oil, please
It's gonna
write in. Owen needs
it's
a
thing.
lesson.
It's a thing, yes, please. What else? What else have you been doing?
Well, that's been my month, really, just making the olives. But I was actually scrolling through Instagram last night, and I saw that Shop the City is happening next week or the week after, the 5th to 7th of May. So in Melbourne. So in the city, there'll be like shops having like really big sales and whatever. And then there's also like, there's a map on the actual website. So Kate, put that in the show notes.
Shop the city. Yeah.
There's so little hotspots where they'll do giveaways. So you'll get like a free gift card or, free croissants or something. So I know one of the hotspots will be, the Burke Street Information Centre for tourists and stuff. I think that's going to be one of the hotspots this year. So yeah, it's like a little 3-day kind of shopping sale deal festival thing that I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's good. So shop the city. Maybe it may be around the country as well. If there is something in any other cities, Adelaide, Sydney, Brisbane, Darwin, let us know because we will share it around. We want to spread the love. Kate, what about you? Any savings, hacks, lessons learned, things like this?
Well, I applied my values to a purchase because I finally purchased an umbrella.
Wow.
And not just a cheap umbrella. I got a legit umbrella that has been tested in a wind tunnel and is going to last me 2 years. So it claims.
Did you test it in a wind tunnel?
No, but the company has. I haven't had a windy day to test it on. So it's been raining a lot in Melbourne recently. I always get annoyed that I don't have an umbrella. I've got one raincoat, but I've left it somewhere that I can't get back to for a while. And I just was always talking about I want an umbrella. And they have those those foldable ones that kind of break really quickly if it's a windy day. And I've lost umbrellas in the past, so I finally got myself together, adulted, and bought a proper umbrella. And I've used it a couple times, and it is perfect.
I've never bought a proper umbrella.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had the same one for a while, but it's not a great one.
Listen to all the people from Brisbane and stuff. Just like, what are these Victorians going on about?
It's an umbrella. It's a legit adult umbrella. It's from a brand called Blunt Umbrellas. So I found them on Google.
Blunt, shout out.
I was looking at different reviews, so they were well reviewed, and hopefully it lasts for a long time. And if it breaks, I can use the 2-year purchase guarantee to get it replaced.
Yeah,
Lovely.
That's great. Wonderful. Well,
what about you? I hear there's been a lot of
people that follow me on
fish
Instagram.
meat being collected.
Fish meat. There has been, but I've also been buying a lot of fishing stuff because the seasons in Victoria tends to be less less fisherman friendly from
Owen
here on
has
out.
not been investing, and he has been buying fishing
I've been
gear.
investing in fishing gear or tackle. And it just so happens that this is a lucky thing. I was committed to go and buy some stuff. I really wanted to go to this particular fishing shop and went down, and it was 25% off everything in the store. And it just so happened that the exact type of lures and things that I wanted for like next season were 50% off. So I just loaded up. It was cheaper than I could get.
Did you buy double the amount of lures because it was 50% off?
Actually, I probably did. I was literally like
The
that
sale
kid in a
worked
candy
on
store.
you.
Like it was like in a big bargain bin up the front as you walk in. I was like just rummaging through.
That's like me at Spotlight.
I didn't even have like a chance to grab a basket because I hadn't even got in the store yet. And so I was like putting it in my shirt and like grabbing all the lures and just chuck it. And I'd already bought a heap on Amazon thinking that like,
didn't
hey,
work.
well, those squid jigs are still up for debate. I've only got one.
I feel like listeners also need to know the part that, like an unboxing haul on a YouTube channel that used to be super popular, Owen took a photo with all of the gear perfectly laid out in rows in the back of his car and had to send it around.
I did. I did. You can check it out on Instagram. Or maybe it's in a story, so it's disappeared now. But yeah, I got it all in the back. There's heaps. I could go really nerdy, but
No.
yeah. There were sinkers so heavy, right, that they almost broke the back of the car when I put it on the tailgate.
Oh my God.
Because I went fishing for sharks on the weekend, which is flake, by the way. If you go to the fish and chip shop, that's all it is. Like the good quality stuff. And it was so deep, the water, and the currents were so strong that just like you have to have a sinker the size of your hand. That's like so heavy in lead. Think about that.
And what about your mini camp stove? That's a money-saving tip because you're not buying food to take out on the boat.
Yes. So what we do is we take one of those little gas cookers, which we got from Anaconda. If you remember, you get it like 20% off. So it's like it's like $30, and you can get gas for it. And it's literally like you can take it anywhere. And we take it on the boat with us, keep it away from the fuel cans, of course, and the engine. But we chuck it up the other end, and we cook our own snags. And you can, if you catch squid fresh from the water, you can quickly like batter the squid and chuck that straight on, and you have fresh squid or fresh fish there and then. And it's always been like a dream of ours to be able to have that, so we don't feel like we like have to spend money on Macca's or some other trash on the way out. So it was really good, and we've got it for forever now.
Nice.
And just got to keep buying those gas.
Yeah, but they last forever. Like honestly, like the gas lasts for each bottle, and they're only like a couple of dollars. Lasts for like 90 minutes or 100 minutes. Okay. And you probably only have it for like 20 minutes going at a time. So that's one meal, and you only really have one meal on a boat. So
sweet.
Yeah, that should get us through winter. And other than that, just recently sold some stuff on Facebook, just like random stuff. Did a clean out and got over $2,000.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was probably about 2,100.
Nice.
Just like bits and bobs. And I also discovered all my Pokemon card collection.
Oh my god.
Which I've been like, I'm a super fan of Pokemon cards, but they're so expensive.
Are you going to sell it?
It got to the point where I was like, I should actually sell this. The first time in my life, I'm like, I should actually get rid of my heart and soul right here.
I know the other year you wanted to complete it.
Well, I did. Yeah. I did want to complete it, and I'm still very close. But what I realized is I've got like 90% of like 4 different sets. And I'm like, to buy the last ones, I'm like, let's get rid of them. But there's a whole market for this online, and it's actually like, it's really cool. What happened is like after these crazes, I thought to myself, this is like a young investor, Owen. I didn't even think about this at the time. But like in late high school, all the kids had moved on to trying to steal vodka cruisers from their older brother or sister's stash, and forgot about the Pokemon cards. So I took all the money that I had, and I knew that one day all of us are going to be 30 years old and want to buy Pokemon cards again, or Game Boys and this sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I spent all of my money buying all of my friends' Pokemon cards. And now I've got them. It's probably like a 10x. So if you're an investor, you're thinking, like, I spent about $300 or $400. It's probably like $3,000 or $4,000 worth of Pokemon cards.
Oh my god!
But you haven't sold them
market-beating
yet.
returns. I haven't sold them.
It's like on Antiques Roadshow when they're like, "Oh, this painting's valued at $10,000.
Yeah.
Only if someone will pay for it.
Yeah,
or
true.
this peculiar teapot.
True.
You've got to sell it."
But there's a pretty deep market for Pokemon cards. Like, it's a pretty liquid market. There's a lot of buyers and sellers.
I will believe it when you show me the receipt.
I'm going to start selling some of them. If anyone wants to...
I want receipts.
If you want to complete your set, I have heaps of duplicates of like really rare, shiny cards. Even my Charizard, Kate, which I'm sure you can get around.
I was so excited by the Charizard.
Charizard would have to be worth like $600 or $700 in mint condition. Sometimes thousands.
I will believe it when you sell it.
Okay, I'm going to go and sell some this month. This is going to be my mission. And then I'm going to cry afterwards because Anyway.
Not the collection.
Not the collection. Okay. Any interesting finds or resources from you guys this month? Like podcasts, books, websites, anything like that?
I'm really terrible when it comes to this.
No, normally you're not. Normally you have all the tricks of the trade.
What is a podcast you've edited recently you enjoyed?
Oh, Steve Samatino. Yeah, he was really cool. The Futurist. Yeah, he was really cool. Oh, look, I have not prepared for this part of the episode.
But what happens is Monique gets to sit in on all the episodes for those listeners at home. And she sees like 10 plus episodes a week. Even if she doesn't edit them all, she'll see them come through. And so when Monique says, that was a really good episode, I'm like,
true. I did
really
pipe up
interested.
A bit. Yeah.
You just come out straight in a meeting that we're in. You're like, this was a really good episode. And Monique's suddenly just like, do over here on the side.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it must have been good. It
was really good.
I only listened to it, but he brought lots of positive energy, it seemed.
Yeah.
He talked about chickens.
Yes, he just spoke about chickens. He was just like super engaging, and that's the ones I tend to enjoy the most. Like, I wasn't distracted at all throughout the recording. Yeah, It was really cool. Yeah.
It's pretty cool when someone builds like a Lego car that actually runs.
Yeah.
And some super genius from Romania, like a kid, helps him build the engine or something. Yeah. And he crowdsourced it via Twitter.
Yeah, that was cool. Nuts. It like ran on air or something like that. Yeah. It's pretty smart. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It definitely made me want to do like crazy experiments like that. Just have a life filled of weird experiments. And that was one of my recommendations this week. His podcast episode, which is on the Finance Podcast, but also his book, The Lessons School Forgot. That's a really interesting one, and thinking about what's next in the future and how you approach the way you're investing in your career and investing your time. So that's a good one. And also Making Money Made Simple. I finished that off from Noel Whittaker. Hopefully there'll be an upcoming episode on the
With
finance
Noel, yep.
podcast. But that's, I mean, it's probably like Barefoot before Barefoot. It's less barefooty, but it's just basic personal finance. It covers everything. It's like everything you could want. So I think if you're maybe an older listener, you don't need all the frills and examples and modern day additions. Like Making Money Made Simple is just a simple, straightforward, good quality finance book.
Yep. Cool.
And there's one more
go
recommendation. I've only gotten through half of the show, but Ramit
On Netflix?
Sethi's
I'll Make you rich.
How
Is
to
it?
Get Rich.
How to Get Rich. These books, I'll Make You Rich. It must be How to Get Rich. I'll Google it now.
Yeah, you Google it. But I'm only halfway through the episodes now because I thought, this could be an interesting podcast episode because he brings up a lot of really...
How to Get Rich.
How to Get Rich by Ramit Sethi. There's maybe 7 or 8 episodes on Netflix. Really interesting to see the behind-the-scenes conversation, look at the numbers, see the questions people ask and the way people approach money. Because a lot of times we talk about understanding your money story and how you deal with your finances and how do you talk to your partner, but you don't get to see other people having these conversations and figuring it out. And I think, of course, it's a TV show and it's probably semi-staged and things like that, but it's a really good show to watch and it's engaging enough that you could watch it with someone that hasn't had much interest in finance in the past.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's I saw some snippets in the trailers of it. How they go into he goes into situations where like there's a couple like arguing about money and trying to like diffuse that situation.
Yeah.
So lots of
There's
relevant
almost
examples.
couples counselling and some, but I've taken out a lot of notes, so hopefully I'll do a little podcast review episode in the next couple
That'd
of
be
weeks.
great. Yeah, cool. I haven't been listening to that much. I've been listening to a few old favourites. I've been listening to a bit of trashy stuff on the old Spotify and what have you, but I'll keep that out of the show. But one thing that I did go back and listen to was only this morning, actually, on the way into the city. There's an investor from the US called Brent Beshaw, and he appeared on some of the earliest episodes of the Invest Like the Best podcast, which is something that we've talked about before. It's more for like the investors in the room. But what makes Brent really interesting is Brent doesn't invest in stocks. He actually just goes and buys whole private companies. So like these would be like small businesses. Some might be like, for example, I don't know if he would, but for example, there's like a really good mechanic in town, and it might be in like a regional town where there's only like one really good mechanic, and he'll go and buy that business. And he buys them from typically older owners. So like they'll be like in their 50s or 60s who are looking to retire and looking for a way out, but want the business to go to safe hands rather than just be sold to the whoever the next highest bidder is. And then they'll take that business and grow it and hold on to it ideally forever. And so he talks about like the kind of the frameworks around that. But in one of the episodes later in the series, what he did with Patrick is he also talked about this idea of personal brand, and something that we've talked about on the show before, where we had Andrea Clark on the show, and she talked about like how would your colleague describe you when you're not in the room. And that's something that I think about a lot because it also touches on Seth Godin's principle of remarkable, being remarkable, like people remark after you. What do they say after you're gone? And I think about that a lot when it comes to personal brand. But they had like this other idea of like when you go to, say, for example, like Apple, Amazon were the examples that they use in this particular podcast. When you go to those, you can generally expect the customer service and the products and everything that's offered to be extremely narrow in that like the outcome from the worst experience to the best experience isn't that far apart. So like you go to Apple, you expect like a really good experience. You pay a lot of money, but you'll get good service, right? Or if you go to Amazon, and you complain, they're going to give you something for free, or they're going to refund you, or they're going to do this, or they're going to do that. Like you know what to expect. So there's no like variability. It's like all really narrow range. Whereas you can also take that and you can put that into the context of people, where some people, like you could probably say this about me, is like I'm kind of like if you were to speak to me, 1 minute you might get a response from me, and then in the next minute you might get a totally different response from me. I think that's probably fair to say. Yeah, I can see you guys nodding.
Chaotic.
Yeah. I think you once, when we did that Andrew episode, you described me as scattered once, but like it's true. Like one time I could be saying something else, like not in a bad way, but like I can go in a completely different...
That was about 2 or 3 years ago now.
Yeah. You can go in a completely different direction, right? So the variability is very high. And what they were talking about is that it tends to be the case that when people positively surprise you, they tend to have that variability. So like when people are positively surprised by meeting you, it tends to be the case when you don't like always deliver what's expected, but there is kind of like a set of values that you operate within. And it was a really interesting conversation. So I would highly encourage people to go back and listen to that. It's the Brent Beshaw episode on the Invest Like the Best podcast. It was the second one that he did. The first one was in 2017, but if you're interested in like private businesses and stuff like that, really interesting. Has a lot of lessons for small business owners and that type of thing. So that was my thing.
Any standout episodes from your 4 podcasts over the last month?
Well, I did one yesterday with Pete Wargen. So the property podcast that we launched recently, people will know, like the reception has been unbelievable. Like it's caught me off guard, to be honest, in a good way. And so like today, I checked on the way in knowing that we were going to record today. It is number 4 in the business charts. Number 3 is this show. The Investors Podcast, a little bit further back. Don't worry about that little one. But it's just been incredible how many people have jumped on the Australian Property Podcast and started listening. So Chris and Pete do their Sunday shows. That goes out 7 a.m. every Sunday. They talk about like the big news stories that week and what they mean to you. And like it's more for property people. Like if you own a home, you're a first home buyer, or you're a property investor. So it's really informative. And then Amy, Chris, Pete and I get on during the week. So I just as a whole, that would probably be my focus right now. We've had some great conversations. Earlier this month, we released an episode which was shared on Instagram, a little snippet with Todd Barlow. Jazz Harrison, who writes articles for our Rask Media website. Jazz has been with me since the very first day of Rask's journey. So like 2017. And she messaged me and said, that's probably the best conversation I've ever heard you record.
Wow.
And that's so when you someone like that come and said that, like they're Washington H. Soul Pattinson shareholders. So, but that podcast with Todd Barlow is all about what makes a business like survive forever. And that was really, really interesting. So at the end of it, Todd said to me, this is the CEO of an $11 billion company, by the way. At the end of it, he said to me, he goes, I don't think anyone's going to want to listen to 80 minutes of what we just talked about. He's like, in a really nice way. He's like, I don't know if people find that interesting. I was like, no. People will, because I was sitting here just like, every minute of it, I was just enjoying it. And he's such a lovely guy, super insightful, and runs one of the most successful investment companies Australia's ever produced. So it owns big parts of TPG Telecom. If you buy Austral bricks for your house from Brickworks, they are the biggest shareholder in that. Heaps of businesses that Priceline Pharmacies they used to own. So wonderful chap. And there's many others, but that's what I'd call that.
Amazing.
Other than that, behind the scenes here at Rask, Mel started. You've probably heard from Mel already. We did a little chat with her about her time at GlobalX and then joining us at Rask. We'll be in Sydney. We'll be in Sydney. I think I'm going up for the full week from May 8th. But we're up there for the Australian Shareholders Association conference. The conference is the 11th and 12th, I think, from memory. It's almost sold out. But if you want to catch up, stay tuned on our social media. I'm sure we might be able to do like a catch up for coffee in the morning or a walk around the Botanical Gardens in Sydney. It's so lovely. And we'd love to meet you in person. And we're also working on events in the background. So keep in mind that we'll be running our own soon. And that's about it, actually.
That's about it.
That's about it.
Not much at all, really.
Not much at all.
No, not much at all.
Oh, we launched the Queenie course.
We launched investing, the beginner investing course with Queenie, which is great. We've got a webinar for that tonight, actually. You can enroll in that. It's $99. And Queenie, for those of you who don't know her, is probably the biggest content creator in Australia.
In finance.
In finance, it is. And she talks about savings, about budgeting, about investing, all the things that you want to know, and typically bite-sized videos. But now we've managed to pin her down for a course, and she's collaborated with us on that. And Kate's done a heap of work behind the scenes, as has Monique, to bring a course to life that is kind of like Queenie's guidebook to investing for the first time. And yeah, it's always fun. The Queenie's community is super engaged. We did a webinar a couple of weeks ago. 1,000 people watched that. And it's exciting. So, yeah.
What's going on at Rask HQ?
What's going on? Well, yeah, credit to you for doing all of that, Kate. Because Kate, by the way, for those listeners that don't know, Kate heads up all of our education. And so it's huge. We're over over 20,000?
I think I've nearly hit 21,000.
Nearly 21,000 enrollments in the courses, which is a huge effort. So congrats. Amazing. We'll see about that 100,000 target. Tell your friends. But we just want to bring education to the masses. So that's why we're here.
Yes, well, we'll keep the conversation going on Instagram, Rask. You can send us a message for something to include in next month's Money and Chill via the link in the show notes.
Yes, indeed. And really, just keep in contact with us because we will be hosting events. We will be coming to a city, chances are every city. So we will want to see you in person, and we want to do live podcasts with you and hear from you and stuff like that. So reach out to us, follow us on social media, particularly Instagram. We're on Twitter as well. We are a little bit on TikTok, although not as much. But yeah, please get in contact with us and share your thoughts and feedback. That's it. Cool. Well, Monique, thank you for joining us, and thank you for bringing your tip around shopping in Melbourne and how to make olives. That's very tasty. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, good. Thank you.
And Kate, as always, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for listening, everyone.